Alright, another draft physics video presentation. So anyway, I was gonna, make a video playing whatever the Bill Gatey physics thing, lecture Sunday 1 p.m. blah blah blah, and it's not there. I was thinking, I think he lives in Germany, so maybe he doesn't know about daylight savings time or something, and couldn't figure out in my head what that would mean. I think that would mean that 1 o'clock should be earlier, though, so that probably isn't the explanation. So maybe he's dead. Hope not. But the funny thing is yes, there's just so few people, who care. I mean, he's only gotten 11 patrons out of his solicitation, and I guess the channel only has 8 subscribers. So I mentioned it and it didn't even work. So there's apparently so few people interested in conversation about why conventional physics is, really got their head way up their ass in all this fantasy physics, and no one really wants to hear about it. And, as an example, you have this Hung-Mu-Mindel effect video. It's got 36,000 views from something called the Quantum Light University. 364 upvotes, 5 downvotes for a silly animation about a non-existent technology that's doing some whatever, quantum computing or something. Clearly in the real world the experiment's not this simple, and clearly there could be explanations like, well, yes, when you bring the 2 photons together and there's a layer of electrons, the photons will interact with the electrons and the photon will be readmitted and blah 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 blah. But no interest in like a rational conversation about reality. It's just a sad fact. So, but it is curious that I couldn't see that comment on my comments section. So maybe some people are commenting. I had to go to this bell thing, and the comment shows there, but it didn't show. Yeah, see, there it is there. It doesn't show in my regular comments, which, that's fucked up. So apparently it's a bunch of bullshit comments by this seriously what the fuck commented, right? Like somebody should indulge this troll crap. You can't even come here with a reasonable fucking screen name. You just can't show any fucking courtesy whatsoever, any respect whatsoever. Why should anybody indulge you? Why shouldn't I just automatically block it? Just say fuck you, fuck off with this crap. I should show. Why don't you make a channel so I can have, so I can show up with obnoxious screen names about how you're big fat head and you got fucking hair up your nose and shit. And I'll just call myself hair up a big fat ugly cob face or something. I'll just make insults and I'll just, why don't you have the balls to do it? I mean, if you're gonna play, why don't you have the balls to play a fair, even game? You're such pussies, you trolls. So anyway, I might as well read some comments. I mean, see if Bill gets his act together. It's pretty bad when you can't show up for your first show. Not a great sign. Doesn't instill a bunch of confidence and such. But yeah, I guess I'll just watch the little bell. Maybe the bell will pop on when his video shows up. But whatever. So this John Carving. You sound dumb and unwilling to think. You're rickin' pisted. So this is on a Ken Wheeler video. So I'll just say Ken Wheeler is a big fat coward. He will not engage with anyone who disagrees with him. He's a coward. He won't do it in the comments section. He won't do it live. He won't do it in any forum whatsoever. He won't do it in video exchanges. He's a fucking coward. Okay, so you're sitting there defending your great big fat coward. Coward. I challenge him to a debate. I'm doing it right now, right to your face, pussy. He's the coward. You're cowards. You're defending a coward. You can't understand that? Of course you can't understand it, but you're a fucking coward. Ugh, you're a fucking little weaselly, trolly, weaselly coward. You know, man up and defend your hero, or fuck off. I mean, defend him in the sense where I get to ask questions where you have to answer them and demonstrate you don't have answers. You just have, Tesla says so. Fucking assholes. Alright, space beams. It's exactly the same amount of pressure. No, it's not. You are retard. You are a retard. So I don't know what video this is. I guess we might as well go to it. For 53 minutes into the video. Might as well do it. What the fuck? It's exactly the same amount of pressure as when it was bouncing this way. And only hitting like this, like this. Exactly the same power to the hits. And there's going to be 4 times many when I cut the distance in half. So these idiots don't actually understand that the way force impacts something is by hitting it. And that if it hits it more times, that equals more force. They're so ignorant of any kind of mechanical physical concept that they can't understand that that's the definition of a force. The same amount of impact, okay, and it happens more often in a second, that means more force. I can't believe I have to explain that. I mean, that's kindergarten physics, for fuck's sake. Bouncing balls and stuff. I mean, kindergarten physics. I just don't, how can somebody, I mean, how can they type a comment this fucking ignorant? No, it's not. You are a retard. So he doesn't understand that if 2 things move closer together and there's a force between them, and the force exerts its pressure every time it hits, that there's going to be more hits and therefore more force. Amazingly stupid. It's like almost, why try, Gary? Why try to communicate with people this stone cold fucking dumb? Oh. Let's see if Rational Science has their act together yet. No video. Okay. I tell you, I'm so hungry for any kind of conversation. Anybody talking about the fact that conventional physics, again, you know, you just have to talk about it. The silly theories, the multiverses, all this bullshit. And people are this aggressively glued to it. Insane explanations for reality. Fucking insane. Alright, so seriously, what the fuck? Fuck you, fucker. Alright, reflection and transmission coefficients depend on the index of refraction. Yeah, so what? I mean, it's just a simple fact. You can refute it in some way or not. The fact is that I put a plain piece of glass in front of a laser beam, and there's every appearance that exactly the same amount of light goes one way as goes the other way. You say that's not true, then I'll just say, well, I can just change the angle a little bit and that'll be the exact answer. I can make it 50-50 by just changing the angle. If you're saying the index of refraction isn't sufficient, then I just change the angle and it will be. It's completely adjustable. So, irrelevant. So a plain piece of glass is not guaranteed to split light perfectly 50-50. Well, it pretty much is. You just adjust it to 50-50. The point is the light that goes through is the least likely to be affected in some way. So at least your 2 beams, even if they weren't exactly 50-50, they would be composed of photons doing a similar thing. They had a similar origin. One didn't go through a tiny slit. Yeah. A beam splitter is designed to be silver just enough to reflection 50% light. So you didn't write that quite right. What the fucker. So again, what evidence do we have of that actually, though? And you can't just like I said, I don't, what, I have to badger you with facts? How does it avoid the problem of, silver, putting a bunch of silver dots on a piece of glass? How does that avoid the problem of creating a diffraction gradient? How is that exactly how a diffraction gradient is created? So again, how does the beam splitter not diffract the light? I mean, it's just amazing. For a specific range of wavelengths, again, we're talking about monochromatic experiments. They're done in one wavelength. This is an irrelevant pile of mush. Also, a commercial glass may have deformities on its surface. Well, so may a prism. So may any piece of glass. Obviously, you have to use a quality piece of glass. I mean, who's arguing for using shitty glass? I mean, obviously I do, because I don't give a shit, but whatever. So this is it. They just won't acknowledge the fact that these are facts, and they have to explain them, and instead they just want to keep pretending those aren't facts. Okay. I mean, I can't do anything with people who are this belligerently incapable of acknowledging a fact. So the reason they don't use a plain piece of glass is that because it doesn't do an interesting thing and doesn't create the two different beams, it creates two equal beams. Equal beams don't work, ironically. So that was where I was pointing out that I was answering the question for them because they're not capable of understanding the answer. But the simple truth is the interferometer doesn't work unless you diffract the light. So a plain piece of glass won't create your pattern unless it's dirty. Ironically again. You are making stuff up about other people. So somehow that statement makes stuff up about other people. Merely asserting that, well, if you're not going to answer the question, I'll answer it. The reason why they don't use a plain piece of glass is because the experiment won't work. This is ridiculous. It is ridiculous that you idiots think this is a counter argument in any form or shape or of any kind of quality. It's just a pile of rubbish. Let's see if we got a video yet. Yes, maybe he did get hit by a truck or something. Who knows? There's no notice that he's not showing up, and he's not showing up. So anyway, it's pretty poor. I mean, shit happens. So yeah, power outage, computer blows up. Something could have happened. So I shouldn't be too judgmental because shit happens. That's life. It's full of shit. Full of shitheads, as I'm demonstrating right at this moment. Okay, this is ridiculous. So it's ridiculous to point out facts like your photon experiment doesn't have the right mathematical form. And you're claiming you have perfect math and you don't even put the slit width in the math. I mean, you're just ridiculous. And it makes no sense. So it makes no sense to point out that little beads of silver on a piece of glass is a diffraction gradient. Doesn't make any sense to point that out. The pattern is best formed when the light is split 50-50. So again, he's just asserting still again that it's best formed, and I'll counter assert that I've done the experiment on my porch when the light's split 50-50 and the performance is nil. Okay, and the pattern is sensitive to both arms. The pattern is sensitive. It's very particular. I mean, this is just such fucking drivel. This is the best you can do. So your best answer to the facts I've pointed out is this mush. The pattern is best formed when the light is split 50-50. How do you even know that? Have you ever done the experiment where you had one beam that was 25% and one beam that was 75%? No doubt there is no such inquiry because you people have no curiosity about how these experiments actually work. You just buy it. You just say, oh, that's so cool. Look. I mean, it's just like this quantum crap, right? It's still here, isn't it? You know, you just eat this shit up. Oh, show me more simulations of reality. Oh, look, the little photons go through the thingy. Look at that. Oh. And you don't care that there's no such experiment doing that. That's not a real thing. You just don't care. You just give me a fake, foolish story about magic. You know, they'll just give me animations of how photon goes through and whoa, it turns into 2 waveatons, and they round waves because it's like ether or water, and turns it into round waves because it's like a medium or something, maybe-ish, even though that's not really quantum mechanics, but somehow it does that. And you fuckers eat this shit. I mean, it's so fucking, it's such shit. And I'm sitting here and I'm just... And this is the best you can do as a defense of something so extraordinary. You have this extraordinarily bizarre theory you're defending, and the best you can do is, the pattern is best formed when the light split 50-50. I'm pretty sure. I know that, kind of, like that. Nobody says that but me, but, you know. I mean, I don't have any authority I can quote. Alright. By the way, you say that the electrons may be relatively large compared to the tons, the bits. Yes, the matter bits may be much bigger than the force bits. So the jiggling won't let them loose. Of course it will. You can't even understand the point I've made 4 million times. The whole point is that yes, the electrons are always moving, everything's moving, and there's force between them. And when you jiggle them enough, you do release the force. And it's called a photon, you kook. That's exactly how electrons make photons. So you don't have any explanation for where the photons come from. That's exactly where they come from. So the more pressurized the electrons are, that is, the more heat or pressure you have on the electrons, the closer they are together, and the more likely it is you could create an X-ray, which would mean a higher frequency because they're bouncing back and forth in a shorter distance. So they come out at a higher frequency when they jiggle. Yes, that's exactly the theory, shit for brain. They just don't fly out all the time. They don't just constantly, all the pressure just releases. Man, you're just so fucking stupid. You have to pressurize them and then irritate them to create a photon. That's how it happens. First you have to pressurize the electrons, then you have to agitate the electrons. That's the rules of creating a photon, and it's perfectly consistent with name an experiment, and it's consistent with it. Fuck. Now you consider any situation where the electron is moved. Now you consider any situation. I'm just saying, you can't understand the simple rules. Electrons aren't doing this. Okay? Electrons are doing this. The stuff is still trapped. If you agitate the system and cause the electrons to do this, or this, then yes, energy is released, force is released, pressure is released, in the form, often, in the form of a photon. The tons between will escape since black tons on black are only deflected by 180 degrees. Well, the word would be reflected, I think, but whatever. Yes, they reflect angle in, angle out in some respects. So, yes. So, how have I said anything in contrary to that? Oh, that's right, I haven't. You just don't give a shit about accurately paraphrasing what I say, and you obviously don't pay any attention whatsoever. I mean, it's in the drawings, for fuck's sake. Let's see, you are too in love with your theory to see the trivial mistakes. So again, this is just such bullshit. There's no mistakes, asshole, except in your deluded mind, because you can't understand. And clearly I'm pointing out your mistakes, and you're clearly the one too in love with your theory to pay any attention to the facts. And you have to substitute your own narrative of what people are trying to accomplish with beam splitters. Well, again, it's not my own narrative. I'm just saying I played the physics professor talking about internal reflections. I showed the website that explained internal reflections. Now, yes, they applied a whole bunch of quantum crap to it, but it doesn't matter. The point is the article is clearly stating that the effect is happening in the beam splitter, not in the atmosphere. And that's the only point that's important from my perspective, because you idiots think it happens in the atmosphere, that two photons do their roundy wave interference thing. Alright. Let's see. Trying to accomplish with beam splitters. Right. So I point out a clear fact, that there's a diffraction gradient is a real concept in physics, and you're essentially creating one with a half-silvered mirror. So again, you just keep ignoring that solid fact and pretending it's not a solid fact. You don't have any Sherlock Holmes skills. It's more irrelevant rubbish. You're just making things up. So I'm making up the fact that diffraction gradients diffract light. Okay, that I'm somehow making that up. And I'm making up the fact that half-silvering a mirror creates a diffraction gradient. Those are two made-up absolute facts of reality that you haven't denied in any way, you haven't refuted in any way as facts. They're solid, rock-solid facts. And you haven't provided one piece of evidence that a half-silvered mirror is not a diffraction gradient. And pushing them to be presented as close to factual as possible. I'm clearly presenting them as they've sure convinced me that they're facts. I look at them and I say, boy, that sure is a fucking fact. I don't know how the fuck you can half-silver a mirror and without creating a bunch of little slits. Yeah, I don't know how the fuck you could possibly do it without doing that. You know, unless you make the silver spots so big, you know, that I could see them. You know, how else can you do it? If you make them small so I can't see the little silver spots and the empty spots, then it's a diffraction gradient. How is there any other possible reality? Oh, that's right, there isn't any other possible reality, you fucking piece of shit. So anyway, yes, we'll dispose of you. So, you know, you want to make troll accounts, try to do something civil or fuck off. Just fuck off. It's just ridiculous. You think I have any obligation to indulge in people who can't phrase a simple question or make an assertion within a link. You can make assertions. Here's the truth, you know. Post the link. And I'll go to the link and I'll show how it's not the truth. It's not a very complicated process here. Instead, you do all this gratuitous insults that have nothing to do with the truth, make accusations that have lied about something or some other trash. It's just obnoxiously rude, patently rude. And you're just proving my point. And don't you see how you're just proving my point? That the average human is incapable of making a rational, fair argument. You're just a bunch of cheaters. You have no interest in the truth. You have no interest in preserving the truth or defending the truth in any honorable way. You're such disgusting cowards. Alright. 20 views and 8 dislikes. This is some bullshit. Someone out there really is butthurt. Yeah, well, the whole YouTube... This is how YouTube works. It just gives trolls apparently infinite capacity to just keep making sock accounts, make fake accounts, fake account, fake account, fake account, and just so they can talk trash on the internet. And clearly YouTube knows it happens, and they just couldn't give a rat's ass, and it really is quite amazing. Just let these assholes harass people. I can't block them. I can't say, fuck you. We obviously have nothing to talk about. You make some videos so I can do the same thing on your videos, okay? I can just harass the fuck out of you. You know, it's harassment tube. And that's all this is. It's just grotesque harassment by assholes who can't make a civil argument. It's really stupid. So it looks like we're out of comments. Alright, so that's good. So we're heading towards the 2 o'clock hour. We'll see if Bill can get his act together for 2 o'clock. Let's see. So we'll try this one more time, and then we'll just have to talk about something else for a little bit. I guess I could play his other video. It is strange, the video introducing his channel isn't here. Let's see if it's in the video list. Yeah, it's there. Rational Science Lectures. I guess the home page you can just create whatever it's a playlist. Okay, so it's his Neanderthal argument, which I haven't listened to. But I'm sure the Neanderthal story, I think, is kind of simple. Neanderthals were completely dependent on meat. So anything that happened in the environment to reduce the amount of available meat to eat would be very dangerous for them. And the little humanoids were the grass cutters. So they could store grains and they could do all that stuff so they could get through the hard periods. You're really not interested right now. No. Shoot, 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 shoot. So because they were goats, essentially, they could eat more things, different things. They out-survived Neanderthal probably for that reason. But they were probably also a little more clever, and they, trick the big apey dummies. I mean, everything always, you don't have gorillas and chimpanzees living together. It's that kind of thing. So, evolution takes care of it. It has to be a winner, it has to be a loser, generally speaking. You have to be, different animals can live together, but the same kind of animals usually can't live together. One has to consume all of the others. Okay, so let's see, we're almost at 2 o'clock. I mean, I can't believe he doesn't know what time it is, so it probably is I'm really reaching to think that the reason is that he can't figure out what time it is. So it's probably not the right answer. Let's see if there's anything in here just for fun. Okay, so it's funny, the little bell thing still has stupid things. Let's see, space beams. It's exactly the same amount of pressure. Okay, we did that, idiot. Yeah, so these are just the idiot comments. Let's see, 20, yeah, that's the same thing. I see absolutely no point being made so far. You are saying that because you can produce the same ring pattern. Yes, yeah, so we already did that one, but I just don't understand how people don't understand. They have a whole, there's a whole, what do you call it, a bunch of axioms that support their theory of function for these different experiments in the devices. And if you point out how, well, here's another way that you can create that same thing, that same phenomena, or that same product of your axiom. And you don't need to do anything ridiculous like photon splitting in two. That you have to sort of explain why, well, no, but this is still the superior answer. So it's like if you have the Copenhagen interpretation, the many worlds. But what if somebody came up with an interpretation that didn't involve anything magical, you see? That would seem to be a much better interpretation just because it doesn't have any of these magical properties. So the point is when somebody shows that there's a mechanical reason why these two light beams aren't the same and that you're not really creating interference between them, you're just magnifying the difference between the two beams. And that's the effect you're measuring. As I pointed out, is divergence automatically creates a way to measure distance. Obviously, the further along you go, the further wider the beam is. So it has built into it a measuring tool where, a little straight beam of light, at no point could you look at the beam of light, you could put a target. It won't tell you much. The divergence is essentially the way you tell how far a laser beam has traveled. So if I show you patterns of laser beams, the divergence is going to be the key thing to understanding how far that beam traveled. That's the measuring device. And even a simple argument like that, these people are just, no, I don't want to believe something simple is responsible. I want to believe something incredibly bizarre is responsible. And that's all it is here. There's no other explanation for it, because somebody who loved physics in a real sense loves the simple answer. The simple answers are always the coolest thing, I think. I just can't imagine being a mechanical person who would want to think that the car engine, is doing spells and magic things and blah blah blah. No, they love a simple solution, a simple diagram. The little starter engine turns, the engine compression, the piston goes in, compresses, creates a little bit of heat, a little spark, They love that. They hate some, you know, some bullshit where you have to say some magic words and then the flunkinator needs to, you know, tap into the multiverse and, you know, push some multiverse in. You know, that's obnoxious to somebody looking for the truth. Anybody reasonable knows the truth ain't gonna look like that. The truth is this. It's simple. It always reduces to simpler things, not more complicated things. We're not riding on a boat more complicated than we are. No, not happening. Alright, so we're 2:04 and there's still no video, so I guess there ain't going to be no video, so I will surrender and say, well, that's unfortunate. That's what I'll do. So I don't know, maybe he privated it. I just don't know why he would do that, considering he has so few people participating so far. Yeah, if you're going to make them private, you should make them private after you hook a few people onto it, you know. Make them hungry for it. So I can't believe that's the reason. So it is just strange to miss your first show. But it's a strange world. So, until next time and such. A stupid world. Smelly, stinking world full of the most disgusting creatures. Humans. Yuck. Can't make a big enough can of Raid. Fucking pieces of shit.